there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I'm on the trail of a Nephilim. I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Got a couple of reports here I think you'll find interesting, and maybe in the next couple of days, I actually signed up for the presentation by the two Italian scientists who I interviewed here just a few days ago. And I've watched their presentation, and I'm taking screenshots, which I'm allowed to do. And I'll be walking you through some of those screenshots here. So you want to check for that. In the meantime, we'll get into these two newspaper articles, and they're always great. I just love these. And if you've got newspaper articles from the 1890s or the 1920s that talk about giants being on Earth, you know where to send them. la@lamarzulli.net. la@lamarzulli.net. We'll get into that, but first, a word from our very trusted sponsor. As we age, our body's natural collagen production declines, leading to visible signs like thinning hair, brittle nails, joint discomfort, and worst of all, wrinkles. That's right, collagen, or the lack of it, is one of the leading causes of wrinkles and sagging skin. Unfortunately, most collagen typically found on store shelves don't provide the right type or amount of collagen necessary to combat wrinkles. This is why I use multi-collagen. And folks, I'm obsessed with the results I'm seeing on my skin. Multi-collagen provides the 5 types of premium collagen that my skin needs to look more youthful. I've seen smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it easily mixes with coffee or tea or whatever you want to mix it with and has 0 flavor. Grab your bag now, and it's 51% off only at healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. Plus, order today to also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this limited time offer is only available at healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com. Check it out, folks. I take it as often as I possibly can. I just love these, and I just want to thank Peggy for sending this to me. So this is from Springfield, Missouri, April 7th. Don't know the year, but it's probably a ways back, I'm sure. A giant skeleton of a man has been unearthed on the Wolverton Farm, a short distance from Tippecanoe City. It measures 8 feet from the top of a leg to the ankles. Wow. The feet being missing. The skull is large enough to fit as a helmet over the average man's head. This skeleton was one of 7 buried in a circle, their feet being pointed towards the center. Crude implements were near. The skeletons are thought to be those of the mound builders. This is really big. So let's walk through this. It measures 8 feet from the top of a leg, which is where the hip is, to the ankles. So you're looking at, if this is accurate, this is one of the largest skeletons ever found in the mounds that I'm aware of. 8 feet from the top of a leg to the ankles. So the feet are missing. So add another what? 4 feet. So you're looking at a 12-footer, 13-footer. That's unbelievable. Look, and this is what amazing. The skeletons are thought to be those of the mound builders. I wish I had a year on this, but there's nothing more. This is all I have. So it's there is no year. But let me tell you something, folks, that we have a petition on our website, lamarzulli.com. When you go there, sign the petition, because what we're looking for is transparency. We want to know what they have in the archives, if they haven't, thrown them all into the sea. We've heard this before. The Smithsonian took the skeletons, put them on a barge, went out to the Atlantic and just dumped them. Guess what? You're never going to find any giants anymore, right? However, we believe that they didn't get them all, that there are artifacts. In fact, a few months ago, when we were at the Branson conference, what was that, 6 months ago in December, whatever, a little bit more, and I'm holding this 28-pound axe head in my hands that was just sitting in a secret room in this restaurant. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, we know that the artifacts are there. So that petition, we're trying to find out, what do you guys have? We have a right to know. We have a right to know because, and this is what's problematic, that that the people who control the museums tell us that they don't have an axe to grind. Oh, yeah, you do. Most of the people, and I'm painting with a broad brush here, but most of the people involved in archaeology and anthropology are all Darwinists. So they don't believe in the Christian narrative, and they certainly don't believe in giants. How many times have I gone up against that? Because that's what we're told. When you're in school, and the book Burn in the Fire, my friend Judd Burton gave me that book years ago, and it's basically Archaeology 101. And the very first chapter tells you there are no giants. They didn't know how to measure. People back then were trying to sell papers, all this other stuff. Wait a minute. Bunch of nonsense. I'm not trying to sell papers. But that's what they say. So you're sitting in class, there are no giants. You want to get an A on the paper, that's what you're going to mouth. You are indoctrinated. So what is the truth? What is the truth? If you're being indoctrinated and it's not the truth, then that's a false narrative. How many reports do we have to have before we realize that giants did walk the earth? And of course, what these people take umbrage with is all of this points back to the veracity of two things. The Native American culture, First Nation people who talked about a race of giants that were here, that they fought against. How many times do we have to hear that? And the second one, it points back to the Nephilim. There is a hidden history. Now, before I jump into the next one, Super Race Hunt starts right here. This is another clipping that came to me. I want to thank Michelle for sending that. So here's the deal with what we see underneath the Giza plateau. Is it, what are we looking at? You can see it right back there. I want to thank my webmaster, Chauncey, Green. Let me just grab it and show it to you. Now, obviously, Chauncey can't make a scale model of it, but I will be showing this week. So these columns go down 2,100 feet below the surface, 2,100 feet. What are we looking at? What is this? And notice the spirals. And I will be reporting, as I said earlier, about what the two Italian scientists, and they stand by their data. I mean, I did a show just a couple of days ago. Last Friday, I did a show on it. So let's read this. Arizona scientists head for Mexico burial field. This is, again, I don't see a date other than December 9th, so I'm not sure what year it is. Let me just double check. I do not see it, so let's go. Quest for remains of a long-dead race of supermen began yesterday when a little band of scientists from the University of Arizona left for a remote region in the Mexican state of Sonora, where it was believed the giants once roamed, carrying new reports indicating the supposedly mythical race actually existed. The party, led by Byron H. Cummings, Dean of Archaeology at the university, entertained hopes the expedition would result in an outstanding scientific discovery. Guiding the party was J.L. Cocker, pioneer Sonoran mining man who found 3 giant skeletons in the Mexican state and who believed many others could be found in the vicinity. Another report by C.H. Smith, another Sonora miner, said he had found 7 huge skeletons buried in a cave several miles from the place described by Cocker. So here's something to think about. We've heard this before. This is why there was a site that we went to just a few months ago. Brent Hite was there, along with a friend of his, and we turned up nothing except a 4-foot timber rattler, and that ended the exploration. We may go back there in the fall. We know that these sites were explored at one point, but they were artifacts that were found in these caves, allegedly, and they couldn't point to any known group. They certainly were pre-Columbian, and certainly were not tied into Native Americans. So what are we looking at here? Let's continue. One large bone was removed from a skeleton and presented by Smith to an American physician who identified the fossil as that of a human thigh bone. He said if the remainder of the skeleton was in proportion, it must have been more than 8 feet in height. How many times do we have to hear this? Here's my book right here, On the Trail of the Nephilim. I discovered that picture out on Catalina Island. We had that one picture looked at and poured over by experts. It's basically a 9-foot skeleton, 8 foot 9 inches, with a 6-inch either way. It can be less, it can be more. If it puts it over 9 feet, think about that. You go up, you go out. Terrifying of a sight. So, how many times do we have to hear this? The 3 skeletons found by Cocker, those of a man and 2 women, were of this size. Dr. Cummings was heartened by the Smith report. The savant regarded the find as important, owing to the necessity of locating numerous skeletons, preferably in different localities, in order to establish scientifically the existence of a Cyclops race. That's a little sensationalistic, in my opinion. Legends handed down from generation to generation by the natives of the region were related by Smith. All dealt with a race of huge men and women who lived 2,000 years ago. Stop right there. Native American oral tradition should be sacrosanct. Why? Because they have no written language. Not all the tribes, but many of the tribes don't. And yet, what they do is they find a young man or a young woman who has like a photographic memory, and they teach the oral tradition. That child is set apart from day one. Once they find out that that child can memorize and has that gift, they're always looking. And then the oral history of a tribe is given to that young boy or young girl, and they can't alter a word, or they repeat it back. And this is how the oral tradition is handed down. And yet, we have modern-day archaeologists who say that, oh, Native Americans built all the mounds, there is no race of giants, they just forgot what they had done. So, excuse me, Native Americans don't forget. That is one of the most racist statements I've ever heard. But let's continue. Legends handed down from generation to generation by the natives of the region were related by Smith. All dealt with a race of huge men and women who lived 2,000 years ago, or even older, 3,000 years ago. Scientists were familiar with these legends, and on several occasions have found large skulls of humans, but no skeletons were found in related groups. After leaving the United States at Nogales, Arizona, the party was to travel incognito in order to avoid trouble with the natives. Dr. Cummings, it's really hard to read, but I'm doing my best, folks. Most of the inhabitants are warlike Yaqui Indians who are superstitious and resent invasion into their land, especially old burial grounds. Besides Coker and Dr. Cummings, several other scientists and United Press representatives were in the party. Several Indian helpers for excavation work and a cook were to be taken along. So that's basically it. Oh, I actually have a date here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. No, it looks like it's the Ventura Daily Post, which is, I could, go up to Ventura. I'm sure I could find that in the archives, but there it is right there. Look, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This is why it's so important with what the scientists, what's beneath the Giza plateau. And you and I have a right to know. The people of the world have a right to know what existed here. If there were a race of giants that were roaming the Americas, we have a right to know. If the mound builders were not Native Americans, but were something else, we have a right to know. If the huge blocks that we see at Sacsayhuaman were not quarried and set in place by the Inca, we have a right to know. And folks, that's why we are on the trail. We've got 8 films now on the Trail of the Nephilim. You can watch each one for $4.99, streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. There are 3 films on the mound builders. And we talk about, I show you the giant skeletons. All that is available. Of course, you could get the On the Trail of the Nephilim book. Let me see, where is it? It's right here. Hold on, folks. There it is. There's the big book. And it's got what? Over 350 colored pages. There are, how many pages in this thing? Give me a second. 604 pages. It's actually 3 books in one. So go to lamarzulli.com, stream the DVDs. Do your homework. Time to do your homework. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I will be back again later this week with a whole little slide presentation from our 2 friends, the Italian scientists who are doing the work in the Giza Plateau. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim.